What are we shopping for?
Just adjusting my lists.
Oh, your Christmas list?
Yep.
Cool. Hi, everyone. How we doing? I think you can see. Oh, my goodness.
Hello, James Brown from Texas, and Gary Oakman from Utah. Jerry Marshall asks, if Land of Legends practices May 2nd, does Mike plan on going? Oh, there's the echo.
You didn't get.
I have no idea. I would love to go practice right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we got cars that are together and scaled, and we could go do it. It's all a matter of if they lift the all the bands of traveling and social distancing and all that. If they do, I'm assuming we could.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What else we got?
I was gonna let you give all the names.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Oh, are you gonna?
David, Richard, David, Michael, Miranda, Connor, James, Jim, Ellie, Scott, Caleb, Bob, and Aquatic Sausage.
Good one.
Aquatic Sausage asks, Mike, what's your thoughts on Maxim making a tall sprint chassis? I've actually run a Big Max, they call it, and it's much more comfortable. I feel that it's safer to have a taller chassis, but I also feel that it should be mandated by the sanctioning bodies to be taller and wider. Even taller and wider than a Big Max. I don't think that's tall enough or wide enough for today's speeds that a sprint car goes. And it will. The problem is the option of having it tall is cool, but it slows you down. But if everybody's mandated to have it, then it would just slow them all down a tenth or whatever it is, and they would be equal again, but everybody would be safer. So that's my opinion. Take it or leave it.
So Connor asks, how many times do you plan on running Upstate New York this year? And my serious question is, where is exactly Upstate New York? Because I feel like we're up in the state, but we're not upstate, are we? I've always wondered that.
We're in the North Country, is what they call it.
Where's technically upstate?
Upstate?
I've always heard it.
I think that's like up at a diagonal from the city. Like
but
the
the
people
diagonal could be like anywhere.
The people in the city, which is pretty much a whole nother state, in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed.
They call upstate like up to the left. And then there's central, and then there's western.
So we should technically be upstate.
No, we're North Country. We're close to Canada.
We're in Canada. Is what this.
We're in the Adirondack Mountains.
Yeah. Joe. Oh, so I guess go ahead.
Hey, Kim.
Wait, going back to that question, are you planning on running Upstate New York?
Plan on running it?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't know. That was the question.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're in New York.
Hey, tell us what track is
upstate
to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming like Orange County could be, or that area, I guess.
But again, like that's not up. Gosh, that's like South New York. Orange County.
To us, yeah. To us, that would be southern. John Doe says New York City folks think Binghamton is upstate. Yeah, which to us it's the southern tier.
Pretty bad. Yeah. Okay, so Connor that asked the question says close to Fonda, 5 Mile, Glen Ridge, I guess is considered. Anything north of Albany. I'm just confused. There's so many options.
Yeah.
Ooh, if you could mandate a safety change, what would it be and why?
A safety change?
Mm-hmm.
In dirt modifieds or like overall?
I don't know. There is no specifics.
Safety change.
I almost feel like we're pretty darn good.
I think again, in dirt modifieds, I think we're really good. In sprint cars, as I mentioned, I would like taller, wider chassis. I think that would be much safer.
I should make them look like modifieds.
But yeah, our chassis are already tall and wide, so. And in late models, I feel like their chassis are pretty safe.
I feel like there's more to those cars than open wheels.
Yeah. I think they could possibly, if there's one thing they could add to dirt modifieds, it could be possibly more drive shaft guards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've added to where, okay, you got to have two guards, front and rear on the torque arm, and then there's a plate that goes around, like we call it the doghouse.
Yeah. It's not much.
You know, there's a plate that goes under the seat. I mean, it's definitely, to a sprint car guy, it seems excessive, but I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have an
I know
answer.
someone that lost their leg to a drive shaft explosion.
Right. So, but they might not have even had those guards in there.
No, it
Who knows?
was like early 2000s.
Yeah. So we've probably already made advancements from that. So I don't know.
Eric J asks, how do people get away with traction control?
I have no idea. If we knew, they would have been caught.
Yeah, right.
And I don't even know if it really exists. I know you can hear, you hear cars that sound like
yeah. They're like, that's got
kind of sounds like traction control. I mean, why else would it make those funny noises? Unless the carburetor was stumbling or something like that. But certainly, some sounds a little different than a carburetor stumble. But I honestly don't know. I think if you got one and tried it, you would know how to police it. So, like for instance, a tech inspector that wants to be able to catch traction control would have to buy a device and figure out how to install it, and then they would know, how to detect it.
All right, we have an iRacing question. Do you have a suggested wheel and pedals for iRacing if you have previous dirt racing experience?
So my wheel and pedals is nothing special, and it's not even meant for a PC. It's meant for like PlayStation. So I don't have a good set, and I'm relatively competitive. So you can just get any old thing and get started. But after using that, I would highly recommend, myself included, getting something better. And I've heard really good things about a Logitech G27 or G29, which are relatively inexpensive. But then there's more expensive versions from Fanatic that you can get direct drive, or ones that we use are driven by a belt.
Now, do you think a motion cockpit is necessary or unnecessary?
Oh my God. A motion cockpit could cost anywhere from like $20,000 to $90,000. So
is it necessary?
Would it be awesome to get the feeling of being in the car? Yes. But if you're not going to go to the fairs and sell tickets to use it, then you're not going to be able to afford it. So I don't know how anybody would afford that.
Let's see. Miranda asks, are you gonna race at Ransomville?
Yes, there's a Super Dirt Car Series race scheduled for Ransomville, I believe, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Aw, Andrew, thank you for the nice comments. He watched my Arbonne video. Appreciate it. It's from the RVP party.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, so Scott asks, would plastic or fiberglass modified bodies be better with less sheet metal repairs?
No,
Fiberglass
because
would be a mess.
The fiberglass and plastic is harder to repair than the sheet metal. The sheet metal, at least, is really cheap to repair, or replace, and then you can rivet patches and stuff to it. It's way better than fiberglass.
You break a roof.
In fact, the roofs and hoods that we use currently are probably the most expensive part of the body. All the other pieces you can bend out of a flat sheet and make them.
Good question. Dave asks, with the gas prices dropping, does race fuel fall in that category? I haven't really looked.
I have not even concerned myself with that, which, you know, racing fuel manufacturers are probably suffering right now because, I mean, I need to concern myself with getting, you know, my car ready and stuff like that. But, I mean, the stuff like fuel and tires is always last minute. It's like, I can get that at the track. I don't need that right now. So those guys are probably not getting a lot of business.
Ray asks, have you ever raced at Can-Am, and what do you think of the track? They have good poutine, and they have ice cream. That is what I think of that track.
It's wide open, a lot of space for camping.
It's like fields and fields and fields.
They have a go-kart track, and I think they're making the track smaller this year.
That's what you had said.
Right? That's what I've been hearing, and so it should be an all-new experience now. No idea what to expect.
So John asks, do you think there should be more engine tech inspection in the modifieds at individual tracks?
Big blocks, no. The engine in the big blocks makes no difference. All we do is spin the tires because we got so much torque and horsepower. Mm-hmm. No one cares if someone cheats their engine, they're not getting an advantage. You know, traction control, yes, but yeah, it's not an issue. But the spec small blocks and the ported small blocks and stuff, they require a lot of tech.
The weekly tracks, when you go through tech, what do they usually check?
Well, they usually pick one thing. What I've noticed is a common thing now is this week we're gonna check your rev box. You know, so if we have a spec rev box that's only supposed to turn 7,600, they test them. Or this week we're going to check your carburetors, and if it's a 4150 Holley 650 carburetor, they put all the no-go gauges or whatever in there and make sure that your carb's good to go. Or this week they pull a header off and they look in the ports and make sure it says spec on the ports. Mm-hmm. Or they look in the headers to make sure that they're the right size because they're spec headers.
And you usually don't get hey, we're going to check this week.
No, they don't tell you ahead of time. That way it kind of keeps you on edge, making sure that you're legal. Mm-hmm. And they'll stick a scope in the intake, check the intake ports, and make sure that nothing's been, make sure you haven't been in there with a die grinder. So yeah, a lot of different things to look at there.
So David said that my dad had a cool simulator years ago. Did you ever see that simulator? Probably not.
I heard about it. It was a sprint car, right?
Yeah.
And that's when, so before iRacing, the best computer racing game was dirt track racing sprint cars. And that was really fun. Now he had one with hydraulics that would move on a motion chassis.
He made it from scratch. Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. When all this started coming out with the iRacing stuff, my dad's like, maybe I should build another one. And I'm like, oh no. Again, growing up, I mean, everyone's got their own childhood stories, but I always remember having to drag the simulator to all the motorsports shows in the wintertime. We'd go to events, we'd go to parties, and all I'd hear is, one more lap, win it or wear it. Blah, blah, blah. It's engraved into my brain.
All alone, like the chess club president on prom night.
Oh my God. Yep. I can tell you more, but so that was cool. I mean, it was neat that we could just hop into it in the front room in the shop whenever we wanted to. But finally, my mom talked him into selling it. Thank goodness. Oh my gosh. Let's see what else we have. Larry asks, what is your opinion on allowing two-way radios between crew and driver during the races?
Boy, so for pit stops, I feel like it has to be allowed if you're
Yep.
doing live pit stops, like a 200 lap race that needs a pit stop and you got to change tires and fuel. Without that, all it does is help people play defense. There's enough defense and blocking and racing without mirrors and radios. I think it's better and more passing without them.
Yep, agreed.
Because I do, like, as a driver, I do love the radios because myself, I prefer to know there's a car outside so that I don't accidentally run into it. But oftentimes what happens is they say car outside and the guy moves up on purpose to block the guy. So it's a catch-22, really. I mean, it can be good, can be bad. I've been accused of blocking because of radios when I don't intend to do that, especially like not leading the race even. You know, like when you're not leading, you're just trying to get to the front. It's not like there's no reason to block the guy for ninth. Right. I love the safety end of it, I guess, that you have better awareness of what's going on around you, and my spotters can call out the wrecks ahead. Like if there's something happening and there's a big dust cloud and it's clear on the top to get around that wreck, it really helps to be informed of that. But with the receivers, the race control should be calling that out as well. It's one thing. Some tracks do, some tracks don't. Some guys talk more than others. I prefer, if you're using the one-way radio for safety reasons, I like them to say more than just yellow, yellow, yellow. Well, where's the yellow? Where's the guy heading that's spinning out? Is it clear to go high, clear to go low? So oftentimes when you have, like, if there's a sanctioning body that's hiring someone to do that job, if they have spotter experience, it really helps because they can call out those wrecks and stuff for safety.
I think I don't mind. I understand the importance of two-way radios when there's live pit stops, but I feel this is where our different perspectives come in, is that you have to find someone that you can trust that's going to be on the other side of the radio and that knows what they're doing. And you have to find someone that's capable of doing that. I mean, it's like, car on the outside, car on the inside, blah, blah, blah. But really it's like another person that you have to find to help you on the car.
Of course.
All that stuff.
Usually they're excited to do it because it's only a couple times a year. If we were going to do it every week, it'd be tough.
That would be a lot. Let's see. Okay. Jason asks, Tyres, do you prepare them at the shop or do you buy them at the track and do all the work to get them ready there?
I prefer to buy them weeks ahead of time. Get them, like I would prefer to get them mounted, sized up, know what they are. Maybe even like take them to the track and heat cycle them, grind them, sipe them, do all that, and have them all ready to go before we race. Because if you're having to work on them at the track, it's just that much more of your time and effort away from like watching the racetrack or like doing other adjustments on the car or anything else. There's a lot of other things you could be doing other than worrying about tires.
Hey, how come I'm the one filtering these questions? You're not doing anything.
I'm sorry. You're doing such a great job. I left it up to you.
Okay, so I'm gonna hope I say your name right, but Jacobin, possibly. When you're driving in a car, are you listening?
I am.
Are you anticipating the behavior of people based on the angles of the cars that you see in traffic, or are you simply enjoying the ride?
Angles?
Angles.
Oh, angles. So you're talking on a racetrack? Angles of cars and traffic? I'm
imagining.
I don't know what, if you're talking about driving on the street.
I would just imagine racing.
I would say I'm just relaxing. But on a racetrack, you're always on edge. You're always looking ahead and looking at. So are the cars like going down the straightaway? They should all kind of be in line.
How's he handling?
What?
How's the car handling?
Yeah.
In front of you.
Exactly.
What lines is
and is he, where is he going? You're trying to figure out where's he going to make his next mistake so that you can pass him. But you got to look further than just the guy in front of you. Like 3-4 rows ahead, are the cars all of a sudden dancing in different directions? Because you might want to think about, do I need to check up for this? Because it always seems to be that like the cars right behind that guy that spins miss him, and that guy from last comes in and like runs in the side of him because he wasn't looking ahead.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing, especially if you're new to racing. You gotta look far ahead. It also helps you with your lap times. I mean, if you're looking right in front of you, you're not going to be as fast as if you're looking like where you're going to be coming out of the corner next.
Makes sense. There's so much involved. Okay, so John asks, when did this grinding come about?
Well, it was somewhere between my dad's time and my time, because his time he never ground tires. You buy new tires at the the Victoria 200 at the end of the year at Fulton, and he'd race them all next year and never grind them or do nothing to them. And they worked and he won races. Now it seems like if you don't grind them, you go out there, you feel like you're on ice. So I think it's when they started using spec tires. And as soon as they mandated that we run this rock hard tire that doesn't adhere to the racing surface, we all of a sudden got to grind it and make it softer to make it work. Like, for instance, I mentioned before that when I ran the micro sprints with Bob Hummer, and they don't grind them because those micro sprint tires are so soft that they just work without doing anything to them. Mm-hmm. They just seem to just go. And so with that spec tire, it really you have to do a lot of preparation to make it work, it seems like.
So Nick asks, how much does the wind affect your car when you get close to someone that does the air from the cars affect you?
In wing sprint cars, a ton. Mm-hmm. I was always taught by Doug Emery to, if you're following someone, always pull out at least half a car high or low, because if you follow him right behind his wing, it's going to take all the air off your wing, and you feel like you're sliding like crazy. You're not going to stick going into that next turn.
What about, I've always heard about clean air and dirty air.
Exactly. So that would be dirty air as you're following that person. Clean air is when you're out front leading, you got all the air pushing down on your wing. Nobody else is, like, you're following a bunch of cars, all the air is getting lifted up off the track. So there's nothing to land on your wing to push your car and push your tires down in the ground. So again, downforce and aerodynamics give a big advantage to the leader and a disadvantage to the third, fourth, fifth place car, right? Where if you take those aerodynamics away, take away spoilers, take away downforce, it's much more even throughout the field to get passing and to have more exciting racing. So when you take away wicker bills, take away spoilers, stuff like that, I think it helps the racing. It slows the cars down, but you have more Dyson and stuff like that. The other thing that happens with wing sprint cars is if you get behind somebody, it takes all the air off not only the top wing but the nose wing as well, and the car wants to wheelie. Yeah, and you really got to be careful of that.
You'll see a lot in racing, someone, I don't know, the front nose wing gets crushed in or something, and they just can't perform.
Oh, it's terrible. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't believe that little wing on the front of a sprint car. It gets knocked off. It's undrivable.
It's not there for looks.
You can finish the race, but you can't. The handle's nowhere close to what it should.
So what about modifieds?
Modifieds, it's less. There's a lot of downforce there, but I don't really feel like it kills me when I'm following someone. I mean, it definitely helps your car when you're out front, but the difference between being if you're third and you're behind someone, or fifth or 10th, it doesn't really matter that much.
Okay. Let's see. Scott asks, how many laps on a big block before a motor refresh, and what parts do they replace in the checkup?
On a big block?
Big block.
Okay, so you can usually get 1,500 to 2,000 laps on a big block after a full freshen. And what you're getting laps on is pistons, rings, bearings, valves, valve springs, retainers, seats, guides, all that stuff, like all these replaceable parts. And then after you're also going to get like your cylinders honed, stuff checked for cracks to make sure that like you don't have a cracked rod or a block or something like that. It's good to have that done every 15 or 2,000 laps. But your season might not work out that way. Maybe you're only going to put 900 laps on this motor this year. Those kind of deals, you might be able to get away with only doing valves and rings. And then you could go another 900 laps before you put pistons in. And
like mid-season, do you have to take an engine out and send it out?
Usually, yeah, because I race enough that I'll get that many laps on a motor before the end of the season. I'll have to take it out. And so full rebuild usually costs somewhere, depending on who you take it to, it could cost somewhere between $5,000 and $12,000, and it's all on like what kind of parts do they use to put in it, and what do they charge for labor, and what does that person feel like they need to replace everything to make sure that the engine doesn't break, or do they usually get away with doing just the major stuff? And it's always like it's a matter of opinion, and it's really like an uncomfortable situation because as an engine builder you're thinking, well, I'd like to replace everything because then it's not on me if it breaks.
Yeah.
Because if they make that decision like let's save some money on pistons this time, and then you break a piston, then your customer ends up coming at you like, how come you didn't?
It's like going to the dealership and getting your oil changed, and like you really should replace this filter, and I'm like, nah, I'll just die from being all blocked up.
Yeah, that's the difference. So you got people with street cars that can get away with not even changing their filter, where like on race cars we change the filter every single race, and the oil gets changed every like couple hundred laps.
Yeah. Everyone is liking your sweatshirt, darling. I
got this a long time ago. It's like falling apart.
It's got a lot of holes
but it's very comfortable. Those old clothes that just fit and they're comfortable? This is one of those.
When we, a few weeks ago when we were organizing all of our clothes, it's very hard to get him to get rid of anything.
Well, this is my only Harley sweatshirt. And so my parents are big into Harleys and riding and stuff. And they've always like gone to Bike Week and all that. And I got my motorcycle license when I was 17 or so, and I like to ride, but I don't get to very often.
I refuse to.
Oh yeah, Mandee doesn't want to, so kind of limiting there too.
Well, it can happen to anyone, but I think, God, what's it been 4 years my parents got into a motorcycle accident? Yeah,
and your mom hurt her foot.
Yeah,
right?
her foot got crushed. It could have been a lot worse, but that was like the downhill spiral for her health, really. I think that's what kickstarted on. But yeah, the only person I'll ride with is my father, even though he was driving when they got into the accident. But the person was not looking, and they had the right of way, and you know how that goes. But my dad likes to joyride, and I'm okay with that's like the one thing. He goes fast in everything else, but motorcycles, he takes all the back roads, does not go on any like 2-lane roads, and we just like can go 5 miles an hour. Like, oh, look at that squirrel, look at that baby of chipmunks. Yeah.
So your dad's a safe rider, but here's the message to everybody out there: watch out for motorcycles on the road, because it's the most dangerous part of riding a motorcycle is everyone else.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's see. Mike asks, is there a big difference between car chassis manufacturers? Did I say that right?
Compared to what? I mean, there's some like what you could call major differences, but then other people would be like, they look the same, So my dad from old school, they used to be a lot more different. I mean, everybody had like custom built cars and so many differences in manufacturers. Now he calls them cookie cutter cars because they all look the same.
Mm-hmm.
So like to me, I see a lot of differences in manufacturers, but to him, he would say no. So I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder. So I don't know what to tell you.
I mean,
there's also more rules now. It's not all in the, it's not like everybody just monkey see, monkey do because of that. It's because they come out with rules and it's like, well, this is the only way to be fast because we have to follow these rules. So,
and if one chassis builder comes out with something that works, you really don't think everyone else is going to be doing it too?
Of course, yeah.
It's kind of hard to differentiate.
And it costs money to try something else. I mean, the manufacturer has to make money, right? They got to sell cars. And if they go out on their own and try something and it doesn't work, it costs them a lot of money to do that. And fail. Failing costs a lot of money. So they have to they got to figure something out quick that works so they can sell cars.
I feel like it's one of those things, of course, driver preference. I don't know entirely how different they can be, but maybe the way obviously they put the cars together and build them, that it could differentiate body flexing or the frame.
I think there's a huge difference in how you assemble a car to how it performs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something a lot of people don't take in consideration. A lot of people just look at the name brand and things like that. And I mean, I got a Bicknell and Matt Shepard has a Bicknell, but they aren't both assembled the same.
No.
Right? So they're going to handle differently, drive differently, and everything like that.
I mean, seriously, they all go on the jig and they have directions of how to put everything together, but the guy building it today might be having a good day. The guy building it tomorrow might be having a really bad day, and you don't want to have that one. Okay,
that's very true. And some manufacturers have more than one jig.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know all about all of them, but two different welders, two different jigs, you'd have two different results, and just flex alone. And then there's how you put the parts on there. That's another variable. There's so many variables.
Crazy. That was a funny one. All right, where is it? Nick asks, Mandee, have you ever made Mike put the kitchen pantry in alphabetical order?
Well, no, but close to it. Once she made me put all my clothes in my closet in Roy G. Biv. So not only in order by color, but by the rainbow, and they all had to be facing the same way. And I got to tell you, I thought she was crazy when she made me do it that time, but now I wish they were like that because it's way easier to find what you need when you're in a rush.
The big difference that I have not cared to make him put it in that order is because we have doors now, and I don't have to see your stuff.
Yeah, I just make sure I close the closet door.
Me, on the other hand, it's my clothes are organized by color and by season.
Yeah, I do organize them by season. I like to put the winter clothes away or put the summer clothes away, and
I need to see it all
because I don't want them in the way.
But there are times when I'm like, Mike, this doesn't go here. This goes over here. But I mean, other than that, not alphabetical, not yet. Not yet. No, thank you for the racing therapy session. Check is in the mail. Thanks, Donald. Glad you guys are enjoying this. I think, wow, we really went over today.
Wow, it's already passed?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do one more question each. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What's East Coast dirt drivers?
Here's a good question. Nick Cockrell says, is there more to worry about running your motor on alcohol or methanol than normal race fuel? I would say there's actually less to worry about. Alcohol is a lot more forgiving But you have to make sure that your fuel lines are clean because it gels up and can gel up in like your jets. And so your carburetor and your fuel system has to be much more taken care of. But now that there's oxygenated fuels, they do the same thing. So if you're comparing, your like D109 oxygenated that we use in our spec 358s to alcohol, it's really like the same problem that we have to clean the fuel system all the time. So honestly, I think I like alcohol. I love the way it smells. I love the way it burns. It makes a lot more power than gasoline. So I would actually prefer it. It saves people money because instead of having to buy those expensive cylinder heads to make power, you can just put this alcohol in your car, which usually costs about less than half of what race fuel costs. And it's just awesome. I mean, have you ever smelled sprint cars? And it's pretty awesome.
I think I lose brain cells every time I smell them, but it smells good. Not arguing. So John asks, how did greasing the bird feeder pole work? So far, so good. My chipmunk hasn't been very happy. I have not seen the squirrel, but it is raining today. But I did grease her up yesterday, so I'll keep you in the loop if anything exciting happens. However, we'll end with a race question. What is the biggest thing you both have had to adjust to living together?
Ooh, okay.
There's a few.
There's a lot of things you have to adjust to live together.
What have we adjusted?
On the positive side for me, it's like a 50-50 thing. Like each of us take something off the other one's plate. Like she makes dinner, but I do the dishes. Yada yada. So like that's a positive side of it. I think just the only negative would be like less choice, less like if I was living by myself, I'd do freedom. What I want, when I want, whenever. Yeah. Leave a mess, clean up whenever. Where like I gotta be concerned about you
leaving the toilet seat lid out.
Hey, I gotta lift it up. You should have to put it down. That's only fair.
We've had this argument, but I don't. Do you want me falling in there?
How do you not know to look? Like I know to look to lift it up.
Dark.
How do you not know
to be dark.
Put it down?
I could just sit on it and fall in, and that could be a really big issue.
Oh, that's funny.
What's another adjustment? I feel like just lately our sleep schedule.
She goes to bed way earlier than me.
Yeah, but I like to wake up earlier.
I like to go to bed late and wake up early. I just don't like sleeping.
Okay, well, I like my sleep.
Used to sleep a lot more than I do now.
I think it's more just finding a good routine, and it seems to work.
Oh, that's the one thing. Alarm clock. I like having the alarm clock go off forever so that it wakes me up.
God, again.
It goes off one time and she shuts it off, and then
I will really push him with my butt out of bed and tell him to turn the freaking alarm off and get out of bed, because as soon as it goes off, I am awake, and it's not fair because I don't need to get up at 5:30 in the morning on a Saturday. You do. So push him out, sleep in another room.
Who doesn't like to get up at 5:30 a.m. on Saturday?
I
just adapted that for Rich Lurkeys. He's the best.
I wake up to my phone vibrating before the music even starts. I am up.
Yeah.
And he sleeps right through it. So that part
I want to get up. It just doesn't happen very easily.
I'm just gonna start pouring water on your face. I'm gonna try that water with the finger test. See if you actually pee your pants.
Well, you're washing the bed sheets. If that happens. This is just getting awkward.
Yeah, it is. I'll let you know if I do.
If you stuck around for this weird last few minutes, I'm sorry.
We love you.
Everyone else, thanks for coming by and enjoying lunch hour with Mike and Mandee.
This is the only interaction that I get, so I do appreciate you guys joining with us every day.
This is a nice little routine we have here.
I do. I like it. And you did mention getting a clicker, so I don't have to do this. But anywho, so thanks guys for hopping on. We will see you again tomorrow at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I know a lot of people out there are on different time zones. So we appreciate you. We hope you're staying safe. Hope you're doing well. And it was fun.
Sure was.
Yay. We'll see you guys
See ya.
tomorrow. Bye.